Welcome to this week's episode of Forgiving the Girl Inside. This week we have the beautiful Natasha with us, who is going to share her healing journey from inner wounds to inner healing. If you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified of the next episode. Every Tuesday we have a new guest on, and we also have other episodes, so you need to stay tuned for some free trainings. And if you know someone who can benefit from what you're about to hear in this particular episode or any of the other episodes, please be sure to share them in the video. And as always, we love to hear your comments, your encouragement. Be sure to check the description on how to connect with Natasha or myself if you're looking for coaching services or ULA 1B7 or anything that you might have a question on in the video. So welcome, Natasha. I'm so excited to hear your healing journey, and I love the inner wounds to inner healing. So tell us some more about yourself.
Hi, thank you, Lisa, for having me. It's incredible to be able to connect with you from two different continents. Our original connection was with our coaching. We've got the connection through ULA, which is clearly both of our passions, and now the other connection is healing our inner child and our inner wounds. So thank you for bringing me on and letting me be part of your journey, and in a sense it's actually part of my healing journey too. So I'm a mum to two young boys. At the time of this recording, they're 6 and 8, and yeah, they are my life. I didn't realize before going into motherhood that was my true calling. I strongly feel I have a powerful message to share with our younger generation and the very, very short people in all of our lives, because it's not too late to heal ourselves, but if we can start spreading an amazing message to the very, very small people in our lives before they actually get to the point where they need to do a lot of healing, then just it'd be incredible to know that they've been living their journey fulfilled rather than half filled. So apart from a mother, I am in my previous life, I was worked in construction and marketing and IT before I fell into speaking and coaching and just being an all-round glowing person after finding my true calling and passion and purpose from a lot of the healing work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you pivot? You went from, so you were in IT construction to coaching.
Yeah. I've definitely got a show bag worth of qualifications, and it just goes to show that no matter where you apply yourself, if it's not meant to be you, it will never fit. And my aha moment was the day that I woke up, like any other day. Like any other day that, you get up, you get out of bed. I walked into my wardrobe and I just stared at all these clothes and I couldn't figure out what to wear. It wasn't because, they were too small or too big or the weather wasn't right and I just didn't know what the temperature was going to be. None of that. It was, I genuinely could not connect to those outfits because I realized that nearly every single outfit in there was like 6 or 7 different personalities that I was putting on to try and be somebody that I was trying to fit into being, to fit into my outer world. Whether it was a family persona, the parent at school dropping the kids off persona for the PNF, or the parents-in-laws, or even just my husband, or being a mother. There was so many personalities that I had acquired over the decades of not fitting, and my inability to fit has only really come to light recently, where I realized that because my inner child was wounded, that my coping mechanism from a very, very early age, I'm talking the earliest I can remember was about 9 months, right through
Wow.
from then to now, was a mode of mum and dad can't do this for me, I need to do it for myself, which then morphed into a role of people pleasing. Um, and so when if you know, if you think you're a people pleaser, or feel that you are, you'll resonate with this, is that you put on whatever mask, outfit, whatever you want to call it, around other people to feel like you fit in, to gain that love, that trust, that affection, whatever it is that that core need that you're missing and you feel that you need to seek from other people. But I was doing it inauthentically, and I didn't realize I was doing it inauthentically. I just realized that I needed to do it, and that was the only way I knew how. And so as I grew up, and now realizing as an adult that that literally profound moment, not realizing that my clothes were just a metaphor for what was going on inside of me, that I realized that I had absolutely no idea who I was. And that started my journey to go, okay, I'm not okay with this now. I've realized that I deserve more, I want more. And then that led me on the course of lots of reading, lots of meditation, lots of lots and lots of inner work.
When you walked in that closet that morning, like, why was it just that particular day? I mean, you'd probably been doing that for a long time. And so what was the snapping point or the trigger point that made you
Yeah.
realize you didn't want to do it anymore?
Um, I've just got goosebumps with you asking me that question. And the first thing that comes to mind, I don't know whether you've read much of his work, but Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I am just utterly fascinated. I think it's chronically understated, that word, fascinated, by quantum physics. And if you haven't had the chance to be touched by quantum physics yet, or experienced, or even just read up on it, I highly suggest you do. Start with Joe Dispenza. It's some pretty full-on work. So Becoming Supernatural is a really good option to start with. And it basically talks about our energy is what we project to the universe, and what we then attract. So we are no different to the computer sitting in front of me right now as I talk to Lisa, and its central processing unit. I have a central processing unit, and I can wire that, I can program that to how it behaves. And prior to that moment of walking into my wardrobe to choose those outfits, I'd already started reading this particular book, not realizing that I had the prequel to my inner child healing journey. And it was obviously enough of an awakening, of an understanding that the power of my future, the person that I want to be, the vision of that person who I strive to be, and the emotions attached to that. So the state of joy, or gratitude that comes with being in those states of moments in the future that I would start visualizing, made me realize that when I walked into those wardrobes, none of those outfits were in those visualizations. I'm like, this is part of it. This is not part of who I am. I couldn't connect. So I'd already started doing manifestations and picturing myself in these places in the future that brought up incredible positive dreams for me. And I'm not necessarily saying that that Joe Dispenza is suggesting that these are all going to come true, because there's a lot of work surrounding visualizations and visual boards. I know that you're great with your visual boards and manifesting, but it's not just a matter of sitting down. I'm just trying to put a disclaimer in. It's not a matter of just sitting down and going, I'm visualizing I've got a brown furred dog and it's going to happen in the future. There's a lot more to it, but just to simplify it for this conversation, that those moments, when I visualized myself in those future moments, I saw myself complete, and that person in those moments knew who she was. She wasn't wearing these outfits. I know that I'm still using this metaphor as these clothing outfits, but none of those outfits in that wardrobe were that person in that future self. And so that was the start of it. And then when I realized, hang on, there's this, the universe is trying to tell me something here. I stood there a lot longer and I literally pulled out outfits. And I'm like, why have I never really thought that I don't enjoy wearing that? You know, it's like something that you do, like a hobby you do, and you look forward to it, and you're like, oh, I'm getting the outfit on. I don't know, I don't do martial arts, but I'm sure that there's people out there that might do martial arts, and as they mentally prepare themselves to practice, they're putting on their gi and they're putting their belt on, and they're becoming that person with that outfit. And once again, it's symbolic of who they are. And so every outfit in my wardrobe didn't symbolize anything that I wanted to be. It was everything that I was a memory of, that I wore that because I knew it wouldn't trigger an argument with my family, or I wore that because my parent-in-laws think that I'm too loud. It was a dull color. Do you see what I'm getting at? And so
Yeah.
every outfit was literally another slap in the face. It's sort of like, what? Who have I been? Why have I allowed this for so long? I mean, I'm in my early 40s, and literally, it's 4 decades of acting ingenuinely, and an intense tool of coping mechanism to people please. If I wore this outfit, I would receive more affection than if I wore this one, because that one didn't make them comfortable. This one does. I will get more affection. So I know it seems, I know I've probably trivialized it a little bit, but that's pretty much, yeah.
No, it's a great visual, because I know a lot of women will do that. They'll connect their outer self with their, try to connect with their inner self, because there's like this battle going on, and in what you have to put on that happy face. So I always describe it as a
Yeah.
mask. And I was a huge people pleaser because, I didn't want anybody to know the real me and like what I had done. So to try to mask that, and you describe it perfectly with the outfits, because that's what we do. We put on a show, we put on these different things, and in hopes that we'll get the response that we think we need. And I am familiar with Joe. I love the Hawaiian practice. I love Zero Limits. Took that class last summer, so I use that in my Aroma Freedom practice. I'm not familiar with the other books. It fascinates me, but I'm just not in that zone of, I'm still trying to understand the energy and
Yeah.
all of that. And every time I hear about it, I'm like, yeah, what is this energy? I can't wrap my mind around it, but I know it's definitely intuition. The heart pull is so strong. And I mean, I know that we're all designed to have desires and to fulfill purposes, and things that happen to us prevent us from moving forward, because we make the external our internal, and it can be changed with practices like you've implemented. So what would you like to share your modality that you use? Like, what do you have like a morning routine or something that you do every day to help you stay focused and you're not people pleasing, you're doing like, I know you had some people to forgive. So how did you begin that journey?
Yeah. So if you're a mother like myself, you realize that there's not many moments in the day that are truly yours. And once I got past the resentment of recognizing that this was not, the once again, the inner voice, this is not going to work. There's no time for me. I can't find the time. I can't this, poor me, once I'd realized that I was self-sabotaging myself, creating a victim mentality for myself, I'm like, okay, clearly this is in my hands, because it's something that I've carried with myself for a long time. Is something I say to myself is that if I resent it, change it. But slight tangent. Well, actually, it's not a tangent, but it's a slight detour. I carry that a lot, and I apply that nearly every day of my life, consciously or unconsciously. If I resent it, I need to change it. And then I'll go, okay, is this, for example, is the fact that I can't get 10, 15, 20 minutes to myself today something that I'm allowed to resent? Can I change it? Okay, well, if I can't, okay, well, the obvious thing that my solution in that time was to get up 30 minutes earlier than I knew that my boys were going to wake up. So that became my solution. But there was always other times where I'm like, okay, well, actually, I choose not to wake up 30 minutes earlier because I would like more bedtime, for example. But then can I get it elsewhere? Well, I choose not to hire a babysitter, or I choose not to do this. So no, there's actually no other way. So I am actually making a conscious choice that there isn't actually a way that I can change it. So I can chat a bit more about that in other ways that I use it. But it was in that moment that I realized that I was creating this victim mentality. I was resenting the situation that I was in. So I'm like, I went through my 1, 2, 3 step of like, hang on a minute, I can change this. It's in my power to. I can't. Well, I can choose to resent it, but I choose not to resent it anymore because it's in my power to change it. So the first step of my healing process was to actually recognize that, hang on a minute, I can actually do something for me, stop being that victim. And I started getting up 20 minutes earlier than what I thought the time was that my boys were going to wake up. My boys are early risers. They were rising in the summer between 5 and 5:30. And I'm like, okay, right, 4:30 it is. And so when people see emails from me, or when I'm connecting with the likes of you or some other great friends over on the other side of the country at 4 or 4:30 in the morning, they go, really, you want to do this? I'm like, yes, I need to do it at this time. It is my time. This is my space. This is my time. This is about me at that time of the day. And they're like, great, this works for me, and so it works great. The universe delivers in the sense of, I've got this connection time with you. We started at 5:30 this morning. But there's been some of my other amazing people in my journey that connect with me at that time of the day. And all it is about me. It's nice and peaceful outside. Sometimes the sun hasn't even risen yet. I know my children are sleepily sound. Sound is, sleepily sound, that whatever I'm trying to say, in the other room. So it is literally all about me. So I'm not distracted. And so that was a massive healing part in itself. And that's a lot for a mother, and all the mothers out there listening to this can go, yes, just grabbing those moments of me time is healing in itself.
Yeah,
I will share
absolutely.
something funny. Yeah,
Go ahead.
something funny that I remember somebody telling me before I gave birth to my first child. One of my elder sisters organised a baby shower, and on the card she got everyone to write a quote or a piece of valuable information for the mother to be. And someone wrote, if you're needing your children, go to the toilet. Oh, if your children don't answer, go to the toilet. And I'm just like, what do you mean by that? Like, I know I've got a warped sense of humor, but I'm just like, that's taking the cake. And then as my children got older, I'm like, oh my God, when they don't answer, they will always find me in the toilet though. It's that constant, and that's fine. That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to know that you're always there. So but yeah, so recognizing that it was in my power, that I did have the power to choose to get up 15, 20, 30 minutes earlier every morning to make my space, was healing in itself. And so then once I started making that a routine and filling it consciously with what I chose to do. So I would choose then to either do an AFT, whether it was pre-recorded or facilitated by someone. An AFT is something Lisa's incredible with. So that's aroma freedom technique. So there was also a lot of meditation. So I'd do lots of guided meditations with Joe, or just someone that I found on Gaia, another fantastic mindfulness app. So whatever it was, there was just a lot of mindfulness. And for me in that moment, after 42 years well, maybe not 42 because I'm 42 now, but you know, for 4 decades of not allowing mindfulness, once mindfulness came in, it was like sugar to a person who'd never had it before. It was just like a caffeine hit. And my usual glowing self was just, I was iridescent. I was becoming just contagious with my energy. I didn't need to desire sleeping so much. There was just these incredible flow-on effects that once I gave myself that 15, 20 minutes of me, just about me, and it didn't have to be anything in particular. It was just literally sitting there. The added energy, the added confidence, the quality connection with the rest of my family, my children, was just phenomenal, and it just escalated from that point.
I'm so happy that you discovered me time now.
Yeah.
My youngest is 23, my oldest is 35, and
Yeah.
My son's dog is eating one of my toys. Excuse me. No. We have a puppy in the house, and I got this on my 20th anniversary cruise. My husband and I went on a cruise for our 20th anniversary, and he won a package, and this is in the package, and the puppy is chewing on it. So I don't want him to chew on it, her to chew on it, but we interrupt this show for that commercial.
Yes, Jules of the Sea.
Yeah,
unfortunately, I'm not. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the baby life.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
when my kids were younger, I did not take me time, and I was miserable. And you talk about the bathroom. As soon as I went in the bathroom, pound, 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 pound. I'm like, leave me alone. I'm in the bathroom. Like the door is closed. And I didn't even, no one ever suggested, oh yeah, get up 30 minutes early or whatever. I tried to get it in. And I remember I was overweight. I was always, one of my unhealthy coping mechanisms was eating. I love chocolate. And I remember just being overweight and not being able to, after my third son, I wasn't able to lose that weight. And I struggled with it for over 20 years. And I remember going in the bathroom just to try to get like some squats in because my kids would not leave me alone. And I'm like, I can't even exercise. Like, leave me alone for 20 minutes. So when I was about, probably in about 2013, 2014, someone had suggested that you just tell it, look at, I'm going off by myself. We need to take me time. You all need me time. Let's take 30 minutes and go do something that we want to do by ourselves. Now my kids, they're always like, oh, well, mom, I've got me time. I gotta have my me time. Yes, you do. Go have your me time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well,
so I'm so
true,
glad
though.
that,
yeah,
especially with 2 boys, because those are always, the boys seem to be more energetic and keep you on your toes and wanting to, connect and do the sports and let's go here and let's do that. So that's awesome.
But
so tell us about the inner wounds to inner healing.
Yeah, so my inner wounds through this self-awareness phase were I recognized what my inner wounds were, and they basically, so my earliest memory is I'm a baby. I'm about 9 months old, and I am sitting in my cot, and it's daylight. My sister's in another cot on the other side of the room. We're about 16 months apart, and we both have this memory. Hers slightly different in the sense of how she described the room, but they were the same. And the curtains open, it's daylight, and we haven't stopped crying, but where there's no tears left. It's kind of like that's what we recognize in each other, and we have this inner dialogue conversation with each other just through our eyes that mum's in her bedroom, she's either sleeping or she's crying. We are daughters number 5 and 6, and mum had what we didn't, society didn't label as postnatal depression. And so our tears and our calls for help and our just, our needs, our core needs as children or babies were not met. And so at that point, I can't say for my sister, but my coping mechanism was, I realized in that moment as a 9-month-old that mum can't do this right now. I need to do it for myself. And I sat with that for a long time once I realized that that's what happened also in that moment, whether that was, people pleasing. Oh, look, I've got this for mum, I'll cover her. But I think there's an equal part there. There's me genuinely going, okay, mum genuinely can't do this right now. She's out of her depth. She's got her own stuff going on. This is what I need to do. I am an old soul. I don't know what you want to call it back then, but I truly knew that I was capable of looking after myself, even though I shouldn't have needed to. I was able to do it. But then the grey, as I got older, as I was able to talk and start making my own decisions, in the sense of, what I ate today and where I would go and have a play date, those type of decisions, that then morphed into the people pleasing aspect. So I would use my people pleasing to fill my bucket, my love bucket, as I call it, to boost my love that I wasn't receiving from my parents, because they were deeply involved in just coping, just, their fight or flight. They were just, in a state of survival for a very long time. My older sister is 12 years my senior, so it had been happening for 10 years already. My dad's words after mum had passed away were, I knew she had changed after my second sister was born. Mum changed. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that she needed my help, and you guys would be all right, referring to us children. And he was right. We would be all right. And his instinct, knowing that he needed to be that person for mum, was just insanely intuitive. And I was very blessed to have two parents that did all they could for themselves and for us, with what the tools they had. They had their own trauma growing up, children of the war, and especially my mother, having come from a Jewish background, and a Holocaust survivor, basically. So there was incredible trauma of her own. And I believe that having children had triggered a lot of this for her and her generational history. But so as I grew older, my tools for getting through that were going out of my way to make people happy, even though I loved doing it. And so this is where a lot of my reflection and a lot of my healing journey, I'm like, well, hang on, what part was that? Was that me genuinely wanting to be the person I want to be? In other words, this happy-go-lucky helper, because I love helping. It is my calling. And but then there was the grey. I took it that one step further. I helped with a preconceived idea that if I do this, I'm going to get this. So if I would help, um, um, empty the dishwasher, even though we didn't have a dishwasher back then. It was those moments of, I just didn't want to do it because I wanted to help. I didn't wanted to do it then because I would receive love. Or whatever I called love back then, I'd receive affection. I would receive that smile, just a glimmer of something that came from my mum or dad to acknowledge that I existed. And there was actually quite a significant turning point in my childhood when I remembered I was helping my dad through the church. There was another family that had just moved into the area, and they couldn't afford a removalist, as they left from one rental to another. And so dad, in his divine passion as well, which was also mine, he helped. He said, look, I'll help you. I'm an electrician, I've got a van, we'll do a lot of stuff. And I didn't question it. That was just what we did. We helped other people, and I also helped other people. So I came along with him that day. I saw that was just what we did. But the moment that things changed for me also was that we were sitting in the back of this gentleman's car. His child was in the back with me. We were a similar age. And I was bouncing these 20-cent coins. I don't know what they would be the equivalent of in over your side of the world, but it was enough to buy a bag of lollies, that kind of money. And I had never grown up with pocket money or being rewarded financially for things. I had no idea what to do with this 60, 80 cents worth of coin. Literally, it was beyond me. But I was playing with it. I was quite a kinetic child, so I was playing with this. And the other gentleman said to me, "Oh, I bet you're playing with your money and you're counting it, trying to figure out what you want to buy with it." And at that moment, when he labeled what it was to do with, I put financial payment on a gift that I had given, a gift of genuine, literally that. It was a genuine gift of my time and my love to help another person. And he put a price on that. And so from that point, I also recognized that my gift I could sell. And what I sold it for was the payment was love and affection and acknowledgement and being seen and heard. But I wasn't being seen and heard in a way that was authentic, genuine, real. It was, once again, I'd started putting on whatever outfit that day would work for me to get that to happen. And as I went through life, through to my 20s, falling in and out of relationships that was so, whether it was a friendship or a relationship, they were exhausting, one-sided, and utter waste of time, really, because in hindsight, they were based on a person that wasn't me, and the energy that I had to put into making the relationship work was utterly exhausting emotionally and physically, just to keep up with the story that I was telling myself of who I was, the story that I was telling this other person of who I was, without even realizing that I was actually having this story going on. So that's pretty much, up until that point where I came to the realization that I had all these different outfits, and I have my whole life had all these different outfits to put on to fill that need of love and affection. Those Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they're right there. That the need of love, the need of a connection. But Maslow also, it's not only just in recognizing you need love, it's actually being self-aware, and you can't connect to yourself or others without knowing who you are. So it's all good and well having those pieces of the puzzles that all fit together, but the pieces won't fit together if you're not the right shape. So you're just continually never going to receive that love on a level that's actually going to fill my love bucket if I was never actually knowing who I was to actually, that sounds very, very long, a bit convoluted, but if you're not connected with yourself, you're never ever going to know what's actually going to need to actually fill that love bucket, because you're continually putting on outfits that don't fit you, and trying to constantly fill a gap in your life with something that's called love, but it's the wrong shaped love, because you're creating the puzzle, the empty pocket of that puzzle, the wrong shape your whole life through. And that's pretty much my healing journey. So as I started meditating every single day, whether it was 5 minutes or 6 minutes or 7 minutes, just adding that a little bit of extra time every day, I started coming into recognizing what wasn't working for me, because it was just so out of my depth of knowing what to do, that I recognized that I did know what was working. There was a couple of things in my life that were truly genuine, and that was my need to help. No, sorry, I won't say that. I should say that it was my choice to help. I recognize that I truly was a helper. I it was really hard trying to figure out that grey area between people pleaser and a passionate helper. And I'm like, okay, my passion is in helping. That is what's working for me. So I started doing things that were good, that I truly knew that were the right fit for me, and just did them a lot. And as I grew in, I call it my glow, as I started flowing more in life and things became easier, the interactions with people around me became easier because I became more authentic in myself of practicing those daily habits of what truly did fit with me. The stuff that didn't fit naturally just started to slow down. And then I started literally looking behind me and going, oh, I've stopped doing that. That clearly wasn't the right fit. So I don't know how I came to figuring out that that's how it was going to work, but it just did. And so
it's your intuition.
Yeah,
You just knew in your
absolutely.
heart that you weren't flowing and glowing
Yeah.
the way you were meant to.
Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
you couldn't ignore the time. I mean, you did ignore it for a long time, but then you came to the point of saturation. Your inner child is like, no, stop.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
be you. Yeah.
So a couple of other modalities that I used was journaling, and that was a lot to do around the forgiveness side of things, and verbally talking things out. It feels absolutely strange talking things out, you know, when someone else isn't in the room. But, you know, you've got to do what you got to do. If nobody's there to listen, literally, physically, then, you know, talking things out loud to yourself is the next best thing. And I did that a lot. I did connect with some facilitators of AFT, or the Roam of Freedom technique, and not because I wasn't capable of facilitating it myself. I'm not a certified practitioner, but I've done it enough to, you know, to get me through the motions of coming up with an affirmation and triggering why, you know, why I want to affirm or decree this and so on. But I would always reach out to another AFT practitioner, in the sense that it pushed my boundaries. My whole life, I recognized that I needed to look after myself. And so I didn't ask for external support. So in the process of healing myself, I stepped out of my comfort and allowed people to help. So does that make sense? So
Yeah.
It was still utterly uncomfortable in those moments, because the healing itself was allowing someone to help me. Even though I knew what to do, it was, I know it sounds intuitive, but that in that moment, I knew that that's what I needed. And I still reach out to other people to step me through AFT every now and then, just to push me that little bit further, to know that somebody else is in the room, to be seen and heard, to have those affirmations come to life, and they're real. It's like that, you know, rhetoric, you know, if a tree falls in the forest, did it actually get heard? If I'm saying these decrees and nobody else is hearing them, are they actually being said? You know, so that would go through my mind, and I'm like, I need someone else to hear them. I need to see that somebody's seeing me in that moment of healing and just holding that space for me. So yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. So how did you turn this into a coaching program? What did you offer?
Well, I don't necessarily have a coaching program yet. I'm still putting together what I feel is the right fit. I do offer all the life coaching and put my little spin on it. I'm very passionate about some other modalities served by Robert Tennyson Stevens, so conscious language, and I've been following some fantastic mentors in that area. So I'm still learning and bringing that together. So I may start to facilitate that aspect of it. But my true passion of what I'm really working on at the moment is what I touched on at the very beginning of our conversation, is that our little people. And I am working on a program that I want to bring into schools, and primary schools and high schools. And it is basically the superhero in you. the superhero strength in you is you, and you having a strong understanding of who you are, and within reason, not shifting from that unless it's a conscious choice to allow yourself, as we grow and physically and internally we grow and we're allowed to morph and so on. But you being you as a conscious choice, not you being you because you'll fit in, not you being you because that's what's fashionable at the moment, or that's what your parents think you are, or, another a fantastic mentor in this field is Bruce Lipton, and he talks about, the rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer, is because our programming, we see, if I'm a fantastic Hollywood, if my parents are fantastic Hollywood superstars and I grow up in their aura, I don't know any different. And it's not right or wrong. I'm not saying that Hollywood superstar is doing the right thing by society or their children, whether they're, showering them with gifts or whatever it looks like to them, but they don't know anything different. They think that that's just normal. So when they put that energy out to the universe, once again, going back to this quantum physics thing, that energy that they're putting out there is just normal to them. And that is one of immense abundance, financial abundance. So on the other end of the spectrum, which is where I really want to connect with these children, is not necessarily the financial side, but the emotional side. These children, and the pandemic has blown this out of proportion terribly. Maybe not necessarily in Australia as much as other parts of the world, but the parents are 1, 2, 3 jobs. They come home, they grab something to eat, if that actually is, afforded by them, and then they'll go back out to another job. They're disconnected from their own lives. They're disconnected from their children because they've got nothing left. They haven't had that 15 minutes of me time to realize, to re-nourish themselves. And so these children are walking in their wake, and that's all they see. These children don't actually know any different, not right or wrong. It's just what's happening. And they don't realize that just because their parents aren't affording themselves the ability to dream and live in joy or passion or an elevated sense of emotion of any sort, these children aren't. These children are becoming stressed and very anxious and aren't taught. The stories aren't being sent back down from generation to generation about the joys of their parents' livelihoods, their grandparents, and that, wouldn't have a clue, because I didn't hear my grandparents' stories, but I did hear my parents', like, my great grandparents. I did hear my grandparents because, as I touched on before, they went through the war, and those stories of passion, that what they did for a loaf of bread. And what they did to get my mother out of a country that she was conceived illegally because of an interdenominational marriage, and the passion and the purpose and the strive that these parents went to, or these people in general. And we're losing those stories as our generations are going on. But not only are we losing them, those stories could go forever, disappear forever, but it's in those stories that we're telling our children to strive, to dream, to be passionate. If it's important to you, push for it, and don't necessarily put a dollar value on it, like somebody unfortunately did to me with my gift of giving, of my love of helping. And so if you're passionate, these children could be passionate about turtles, and it's, allow them to be passionate about turtles, because as they grow in life, that passion from turtles will morph into environmental activists. I'm passionate about, baking, and they will then be the next master chef, all of that kind of stuff. So my joy is to be able to bring those messages to children. And at the moment, I'm connecting with mothers that have gone through a journey very similar to mine, where they've just lost that flow and they don't know why. The day-to-day is literally eat, sleep, repeat. And I'm connecting with mothers like that at the moment, and I will for a very, very long time. I think that will just be my thing, because I'm very passionate about motherhood. I'm very passionate about what our jobs are as mothers, because not only is it I feel very strong calling that it's my job to start spreading this message into communities that their mothers aren't able to say this message, but I want to share this message with other mothers too. So not only help them through the getting their flow back, getting their glow on, so they're iridescent, and have that, know what that actually feels like, so that they can, in those days of just wanting to hide in that bathroom and do those squats or push-ups, that they can go, okay, this is just this moment. But they can also start storytelling to their next generations about the purpose of having purpose and living meaningfully and having passion, and you being you. So so that's where I'm going.
Well, that's beautiful. That's an amazing journey, and you're going to help so many. And I'm just so excited. And ULA, but using the ULA framework and using that as a tool to help these families, to help these children grow up in a thriving environment. I mean, you can't beat that. You can't beat that framework. And, being balanced in those 7 key areas is so important. I mean, it was one of my breakthroughs into helping me, forgive myself and forgive the inner child and forgive those who, were a part of that. And most importantly, I mean, I love the ULA blockers. 7's my favorite number. So I love that everything in ULA is 7, but with the 7 blockers, you have the fear, shame, guilt, the self-sabotage, the envy, the laziness. Those are the ones I have memorized right now. But I was so fearful of moving forward, and fearful, was kind of like my main thing. And to be able to work through that, the ULA guys are like, ready, set, go. And it's like, so every time I get that that notion of being fearful, it's like, okay, why am I afraid? Ready, set, go. And I could probably talk about that for hours. And I know a lot of children, and I know a lot of children are so afraid. I mean, you can see it in their eyes and the expressions in their faces and some of the things that we go through as children. A lot of it's hidden, especially if we have parents who are suffering from different things. We talk about, one of the things I'm gearing towards healing, focusing on is grieving. We need to grieve to forgive, and we can grieve, losses through death. That's mostly what people resonate with. But when you have a loss of a relationship, a loss of a loved one, a loss of a job, a loss of identity, you have to grieve that and work through it in order to heal from it. So it sounds like you had an incredible journey doing just that. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us and sharing from your heart. I know it's a very tender topic, and I know it's going to help so many people and so many children. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me.
Yeah. And thank you, viewers, for spending the time with us. Again, if you know anyone, any people pleasers, anyone who needs to do inner child work or who needs their ULA life, we're your ladies to connect with. Have an amazing day.
Bye.